Wall Street records a winning week ahead of another debt ceiling talk that we have today. To this, even as Treasury Secretary warns of hard choices if the cap is not raised. Investors also look ahead to Fed minutes this week. Asian markets open mixed, while the SGX Nifty indicates a lower start for the Indian market. The RBI withdraws the 2,000 rupee note from circulation under its clean note policy, but says it will remain legal tender. Announces a window till the 30th of September to exchange or deposit the notes in tranches of 20,000 rupees each. And after widespread criticism, the government reverses course on imposing 20% tax collected at source on all overseas credit card transactions. Says the 20% TCS will only apply to transactions above 7 lakh rupees. And Divi's Labs delivers a beat on revenue, but margin and profit both miss estimates. NTPC delivers a mixed fourth quarter with profit above street estimates, while JSW Steel and Power Grid beat expectations on all fronts. And the RBI transfers around 87,400 crore rupees to the government as surplus for FY23, thanks to higher forex gains and dividends from PSU banks. The Reserve Bank also increases its contingency buffer to 6% after at least 2 years. Hi guys, good morning and welcome to Power Breakfast. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Those are the top headlines that we have for you. There's lots to track as far as the global markets go. Some big decisions that came through for our own markets as well on Friday. So we clearly have a full show ahead of us. But first up, let's take a look at what's going on across Asia. We got a mixed close from Wall Street on Friday, and you have Asian markets which are largely lower right now. So what's doing well is the Korean market that is seeing gains of around 0.7%. You have the Hang Seng, which is seeing some minor gains as well, around 0.2% there. But barring that, it's red across Asia. So Nikkei is absolutely flat. You have the Taiwanese index a little bit in the red. Shanghai seeing a cut of around 0.1% as well. So no big moves in Asia, but largely lower as we start the session. The SGX Nifty will come up for you. It is indicating a bit of a soft start for our own markets. 23 points lower is where we're at on the SGX right now. So maybe a bit of a soft start, but then let's see how we move from there. This is what's happening across Asia. Let's also talk about the US now, because Wall Street ended lower on Friday. So the Dow Jones fell around 100 points. The S&P 500 was flat with just some marginal losses, which are up on your screen. And the Nasdaq Composite was down around 30 points. So all three major averages were down on Friday. But for the week, we actually saw pretty good gains come through. The S&P 500 rose 1.65%. This is for the week. The Nasdaq gained over 3% for the week. It was actually the best performance that we've seen for both the S&P 500 as well as the Nasdaq since March. The Dow added around 0.4% for the week as well. So all in all, the week was good, but Friday a little bit soft for Wall Street. Speaking of Wall Street, the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says that stress in the banking sector would mean that rates may not have to rise as much as expected in order to curb inflation. Let's listen in to some of those comments.
When banking stresses emerged in early March, we used our liquidity tools, discount window and the Bank Term Funding Program, to make liquidity available to banks that might need it. And that liquidity supported the stability of the financial system without restricting the use of our monetary policy tools to promote price stability. While the financial stability tools help to calm conditions in the banking sector, developments there, on the other hand, are contributing to tighter credit conditions and are likely to weigh on economic growth, hiring, and inflation. So as a result, our policy rate may not need to rise as much as it would have otherwise to achieve our goals. Of course, the extent of that is highly uncertain.
All right, that is the word coming in from Jerome Powell. But sticking with the U.S., as a possible debt default looms, and this is what we've all been talking about, U.S. President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy are due to meet once again today in order to resume negotiations. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, meanwhile, warns that the odds of the U.S. paying all of its bills by the 15th of June is quite low. Listen in.
There's always uncertainty about tax receipts and spending. And so it's hard to be absolutely certain about this, but my assessment is that the odds of reaching June 15th while being able to pay all of our bills is quite low.
All right, that is some important opinion that we are tracking, and the important comments coming in from Jerome Powell as well as Janet Yellen. We'll, of course, keep bringing you up to speed on how the negotiations proceed and any news that comes out of there as well. And that's what we're tracking globally. But let's now talk about all of the cues that you should track as we get into this brand new trading week. Our research team is here with the trade setup. Abhishek, Mangalam, as well as Vivek all join me now. Guys, a very good morning to all of you. Vivek, let me come across to you first. We were just going through the global setup, which actually remains, quite important to track as well. But take us through everything we should look at from an Indian market standpoint.
Well, good morning. You're absolutely right. Quite an important week as we wind down towards the end of the earnings season as well. Like you mentioned, U.S. markets ended with gains for the week, despite all of the worries regarding the debt ceiling limit. When you talk about crude oil price, important to mention that Brent futures as well as, WTI futures, both of them actually saw a little bit of a sell-off as far as Friday's session was concerned. And when you're talking about our own markets and important cues to watch out there, remember, Indian markets actually went and snapped a 3-week gaining streak last week, with the Nifty ending closer to 1% lower. Now, in Friday's session, IT was the top sectoral gainer, and the broader markets, which actually saw a very sharp rally in the last couple of trading weeks, actually underperformed in the week gone by as well. Important cues to watch out for today, some important earnings reactions. JSW Steel, NTPC, Power Grid, companies and stocks will react to their numbers. Important earnings today, Shree Cement as well as BPCL. Now, when you're talking about the Asian markets, a very mixed set of cues. LJX Nifty 2 is indicating slightly muted start for our own markets.
All right, so maybe a bit of a muted start, and then let's see how the session proceeds. But Vivek, thanks a lot for all of those cues. Let's talk about the individual stocks that you should watch in today's session as well. Abhishek, a lot of results coming through, but a lot of important decisions as well from the Reserve Bank that we heard of on Friday.
Well, yes, Pavitra. So RBI has withdrawn or decided to withdraw the Rs 2000 denomination currency note in circular. So this can benefit to an extent the large banks who have a great deposit franchise and reach in the system. Talking about results, the JSW Steel results for a stellar one. The net profit coming in at 3,741 crore versus our poll of 2,110 crore. Even the margins were at 16.9% versus our poll of 14.2%. Now, Divis was a miss. The margin has come in at 25% versus our poll of 29%. The PAT has come in at 321 crore versus our poll of nearly 374 crores. Delivery, the losses momentum continue over there. So YOY, the loss has increased while the margins have shrunk sharply to 0.72% when compared to 3.1% in the same quarter last year. NTPC, the revenue were lower than our poll, coming in at 41,318 crore. We were working with a number of 42,200 crore. However, the profits were at 5,672 crore, while we were working with a number of 4,760 crores. So margin expansion seen over there. Muthoot Finance, the gold loan is back, and how look at the book, it grew by almost 9% quarter on quarter. So that could be one of the results in focus. Even their subsidiaries have seen sharp improvement in asset quality. Bandhan Bank asset quality improves. Gross NPA ratio is down to 4.87% versus 7.15% in the previous quarter, and the net interest margin has also expanded to 7.3% when compared to 6.5% in the previous quarter. Back to you.
Okay, Abhishek, thanks a lot. That is a lot of stocks, but thanks for catching us up on all of that weekend action. We now have Mangalam here with all of the cues from the futures and options space. Mangalam, like Vivek was pointing out as well, we snapped that 3-week gaining streak for the Nifty, but take us through what we should track from the futures and options space.
Well, for starters, all of last week, if you just take a look at Monday as well as Friday, the Nifty was bookended by both the high of the week and the low in that week itself, and that is the broad range that we've been trading in. But the good part was on Friday, we saw a near 140-point recovery from the lows. The Nifty went ahead and crossed above that 18,200 mark in terms of a closing, and that's the momentum that one needed for the May series expiry week to begin. The FIs, they sold in cash markets about 113 odd crores, but nothing really to worry. It's the first cash sell that we've seen all the way since last month, May 25th, the April 25th, that is. But in this month itself, they bought a little over $2 billion, so that's a big positive. They also sold about 565 crores in index futures, but there as well, nothing really to worry because there was a fair amount of consolidation going on all of last week. The FII longs in index futures have been meandering between 47 to 49% itself. What, however, is a big positive is ahead of expiry. We saw 5,600 crore worth selling in index options, and most of that was directed towards selling index puts. 1.13 lakh put contracts have been sold versus 72,000 calls that have been sold. So that's telling you there is strong support at the lower levels. 18,100 put as well as the 18,000 puts. Both of them saw a fair amount of action. 18,100 put added about 25 lakh shares. 18,000 put itself added about 25 lakh shares as well. And both of them for a premium of 15 to 20 odd rupees, telling you that around 18,080 to 18,100 is strong support. However, call writers have been active at 18,400 and 18,450, which tells you that last week's high may prove to be a bit of a resistance. The Nifty 20-day moving average has now moved higher to 18,107. That's an important support to watch out for. In fact, that's the support zone for the Nifty as well. And for the Nifty Bank, we have 43,750, the level from which it's bounced back a couple of times all of last week as well. The important thing, however, to watch out for will be the IT index, because this is a week where we'll be watching the global moves as well. And last Friday, the IT index moved about 1.5% in tandem with a big move that we saw in NASDAQ the previous trading session. So if the globe moves ahead, IT index moves ahead as well.
All right, Mangalam, thanks a lot for bringing us all of those cues that we should track as well. But with that, it is time for our first short break in the show. When we return, like we told you, the Reserve Bank has withdrawn the 2,000 rupee note from circulation under its clean note policy. We're going to get you all of the details in just a bit.
What does your investment portfolio look like without gold? Incomplete. Because as a gold owner, you have the power to make bold decisions. To balance risks and returns. The power to buy and sell right at your fingertips. Making gold your strategic advantage.
Without which your portfolio is incomplete.
Power your portfolio with gold. World Gold Council.
What if you could get your goods to the right place at the right time all the time? With IBM Consulting, AI-powered software can help automate your supply chain so products can be ordered, produced, and delivered more efficiently. What will you create? IBM, let's create.
I always go for it. आप भी जरूर try कीजिए. Toodles, guys. Good recommendations are helpful, na? They surely help me while investing with Angel One. आखिर influencers को भी तो जरूरत है smart recommendations की.
Investments in securities markets are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
पंजाब बदल रहा है, नई रफ्तार से चल रहा है. खेतों में उम्मीद उगी है, खड़ी फसल गुनगुना रही है, गीत बदलाव के गा रही है, पिंड में भांगड़ा मचल रहा है. पंजाब बदल रहा है. मुश्किल से मिलते हैं मुश्किल में साथी, यहां तो हरदम कोई खड़ा है. हर मोहल्ले का अपना क्लिनिक, फ्री में इलाज चल रहा है. पंजाब बदल रहा है. मोहाली बस स्टेडियम नहीं, स्टार्टअप का भी हब है अब. टेक्नोलॉजी के इस शहर को सबने इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए चुना है. हौसला यूथ का उबल रहा है. पंजाब बदल रहा है. आने वाले सुनहरे कल की देखो तो तैयारी. सरकारी स्कूल में अब तो शिक्षा मिलती है म्यारी. करप्शन पर जीरो टॉलरेंस. बिजली का बिल भी जीरो है. इस बदलते पंजाब में अब तो आम आदमी हीरो है. किया संकल्प के बदलेंगे, मंजिल पे जाके दम लेंगे. सोच नई, अप्रोच नई, नई रफ्तार से चल रहा है. पंजाब बदल रहा है. तरक्की का एक साल पंजाब के साथ.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. Let's now talk about some crucial developments that came through over the weekend and on Friday evening as well. Over 6 years after demonetization, the RBI has announced pulling the 2,000 rupee notes out of circulation. The central bank, however, did maintain that the note will continue to be legal tender. So the 2,000 rupee notes can be deposited or exchanged from banks. This can be done in tranches of 20,000 rupees at a time. And the central bank has said that it has urged that the notes be exchanged between May 23rd and September 30th. So that is the timeline that they've asked for. The country's largest lender, SBI, said that no form or no slip will be required in order to exchange these notes. And however, there is still some ambiguity over what really happens after September 30th deadline, because they have said that it continues to remain legal tender. So we're waiting by for that clarity. But for now, let's listen into what Finance Secretary TV Somanathan as well as former Finance Secretary SC Garg had to say on this decision by the Reserve Bank?
It is no longer necessary. So it has served its need, and now it's time to move on to smaller denominations.
Sir, just for the clarification, what will happen after? Sir, 30 सितंबर के बाद क्या होगा सर इन नोट्स का? क्या आरबीआई इस नोट्स को लेगा वापस? क्योंकि बैंक
हाँ, ये तो अभी भी लीगल टेंडर है, तो इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. अभी भी लीगल टेंडर है. It continues as a legal tender.
तो सर सितंबर 30 के बाद
ऐसे कई बार हुई है. You have had, one 500 rupee note was withdrawn some years ago for security reasons. So this has happened many times. This is not new.
सर इसे नोट डिमोनेटाइजेशन नहीं कह सकते, इसे क्या कहेंगे?
नहीं, ये डिमोनेटाइजेशन नहीं है. ये replacement of 2000 rupee notes है.
2000 rupees note was used to make the demonetization process facilitate, because there was no other note available at that time of 500 or 1000 rupees. Effectively, all the notes which were in circulation were printed before July 2017. There might be a small number of leftover paper which might have been printed in 1819, but that is too small to be of any real consequence. And from that time onwards, the 2000 rupee note has increasingly gotten withdrawn from the process.
All right, that's the word coming in, that the 2000 rupee note has served its purpose that was, intended after demonetization. It is time to pull it out of the system, but still, lacking clarity on what really happens after the 30th of September, because they have provided a timeline. But let's also listen into what the Chief Executive of Indian Banks Association, the IBA, Sunil Mehta, had to say about the RBI withdrawing the 2000 rupee note. Listen in.
RBI can choose to extend the date, or RBI can choose to close this if they think that the entire money has already been deposited and money has come back to the system. They can decide about non-continuation of 2000 rupees as a legal tender. So it is in the interest of the general public that they should get it either exchange or deposit in their account. Till then, even they can use it for payments also. Any account which meets out the basic regulatory requirement of a KYC, and totally seeded with a PAN number and having other regulatory meet out all the requirements, they can deposit in any amount. There is no such restriction or amount ceiling. Initially, people get panicked, so they will try to rush to the bank to get it exchanged, or those who have the money, they would like to deposit it. So initially, there will be a more rush.
All right, so that is some important opinion as well. In fact, there was more that has been announced. The Reserve Bank has also announced a surplus transfer of around 87,400 crore rupees to the government. This is for FY23, and this is actually the highest surplus transfer since the 99,000 crore rupees that we saw in FY21. Now, this higher surplus is because of a number of factors. A, the higher earnings on sale of Forex. The RBI would have also had higher payouts due to SDF rates. And then lastly, PSU banks also reported higher profits, right, which means higher dividends. So the RBI has now decided to keep the contingency buffer. In addition to this, they've decided to keep the contingency buffer at 6%. Remember, the Bimal Jalan committee had mandated the RBI to keep the contingency buffer between 5.5 to 6.5%. And so far, the Reserve Bank had kept it at 5.5%. But it has now decided to increase that amount to 6%. Market experts also say that, the surplus transfer, although it is high and it is at 87,400 crores, it is pretty much in line with what was expected because of the factors that I mentioned. So that is some important news that came through. But here is something that I'm sure you'll be happy to hear. And a lot of people were relieved to hear this as well. After widespread criticism, the government has reversed course on imposing the 20% tax collected at source on all overseas credit card transactions. It has now said that the 20% TCS will only apply on overseas transactions above that 7 lakh rupee limit. So Sapna Das is here with all of the details here. Sapna.
The government has taken serious note of the kind of feedback that has come, and I think in our discussions also we were primarily focused on the fact that this is going to be a huge inconvenience as far as the small taxpayer is concerned, as far as this the salaried class is concerned, most likely. So keeping all of this in mind, up to 7 lakhs up to 7 lakhs of payments in foreign exchange using your international debit and credit cards, that is not going to be part of your liberalized remittance scheme. So once that's not part of the LRS, the TCS is also not going to be applicable. Now, why the 7 lakh limit? If you look at the budget closely, your health spend and your education spend, which the limits over there are 7 lakh. Up to 7 lakh, there is no TCS on that front. Beyond 7 lakhs, there is a 5% and there is a, there is a very limited 0.5% in terms of your education loan, so on and so forth. So I think keeping that in mind and trying to give this big relief signal to the common taxpayer, to the honest taxpayer, the government has gone and done this. What about beyond 7 lakhs? Definitely beyond 7 lakhs, your 20% TCS is going to be applicable, and quite possibly, in the liberalized remittance scheme, that they will issue it separately. They will notify the changes separately. They might have to say that, it's not only up to 7 lakhs is exempt. Beyond that, I think the LRS will still be applicable. So that's something we need to keep in mind.
All right, Sapna, thanks a lot for filling us in with all of those big details that came through. And, like I mentioned, quite a relief to a lot of us as well. But with that, it is time for a short break on the show. When we come back, we're going to shift focus and talk about the world of commodities. There's a lot of action there as well. So stay tuned for the updates.
I'm a chameleon. It's my job to change color. But your wealth manager? Well, they shouldn't be copying me, you know. You know that. Choose Nuvama. We only do what's right for you and your money. Nuvama. Let's do it right.
एक है जमीन मेरी, एक है मौका मेरा, इसमें सब लगाऊंगा, अपने इरादों से मजबूत एक घर बनाऊंगा।
हाँ शुक्ला जी, भिजवाना सिर्फ अल्ट्राटेक ही। अल्ट्राटेक ही क्यों? आप ही ने तो कहा था कि घर जिंदगी में सिर्फ एक ही बार बनता है।
घर एक, मौका एक, इसलिए सीमेंट भी देश का नंबर 1, अल्ट्राटेक, इंडियाज नंबर 1 सीमेंट।
पंजाब बदल रहा है, नई रफ्तार से चल रहा है। खेतों में उम्मीद उगी है, खड़ी फसल गुनगुना रही है, गीत बदलाव के गा रही है, पिंड में भांगड़ा मचल रहा है। पंजाब बदल रहा है। मुश्किल से मिलते हैं मुश्किल में साथी, यहां तो हरदम कोई खड़ा है। हर मोहल्ले का अपना क्लिनिक, फ्री में इलाज चल रहा है। पंजाब बदल रहा है। मोहाली बस स्टेडियम नहीं, स्टार्टअप का भी हब है अब। टेक्नोलॉजी के इस शहर को सबने इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए चुना है। हौसला यूथ का उबल रहा है। पंजाब बदल रहा है। आने वाले सुनहरे कल की देखो तो तैयारी। सरकारी स्कूल में अब तो शिक्षा मिलती है म्यारी। करप्शन पर जीरो टॉलरेंस, बिजली का बिल भी जीरो है। इस बदलते पंजाब में अब तो आम आदमी हीरो है। किया संकल्प के बदलेंगे, मंजिल पे जाके दम लेंगे। सोच नई, अप्रोच नई, नई रफ्तार से चल रहा है। पंजाब बदल रहा है। तरक्की का एक साल पंजाब के साथ।
Dadu,
Yes?
what does premium mean?
Beta, premium you can say is like petrol. The car will keep going till the time it has petrol. Once petrol is over, the car stops.
But Dad, this time even if the petrol is over, our car won't stop.
How come?
With LIC's Jeevan Labh, even after the premium payment tenure is over, the policy's benefits continue.
That means our journey of happiness will continue non-stop.
LIC, हर पल आपके साथ।
Welcome back. Let's talk about the commodity space now. As promised, Manisha is here with an update. Manisha, we were just going through all of the equity market updates, but take us through everything that's happening in the world of commodities as well.
Pavitra, thank you so much for that. I know we are digesting the Powell statements from yesterday saying that the rates might not have to rise as much due to tight credit conditions, post-banking sector turmoil. I mean, that is one thing to look at. And the other is that the U.S. talks on debt ceiling are slated to resume today. That's that's going to be another indicator for the markets to watch out for. In the meanwhile, we have seen the gold prices recover post the U.S. Fed speech. The markets are trading in the positive right now. We've seen 2% of gains between Friday and today, and the markets are taking support also from the massive layoffs that we have seen come in from various companies. So there is that flight to safety that the gold prices really seem to be reeling with. Apart from that, there is a huge amount of physical buying that Indian markets also have seen in the last couple of days. There are reports on how various gold and jewelry bazaars have seen 2,000 rupee notes being used to buy gold and jewelry at a premium as well. So the physical buying in India, which was quite weak and negative in the first quarter of this year, seems to be picking up in the second quarter, and that in turn also seems to have supported the gold price.
All right, Manisha, thanks a lot for that quick update. On that note, we're going to wind down on this edition of Power Breakfast. Thank you very much for tuning in. We have Bazaar Morning Call up for you in 2.